We did it. Matt Cheers, you could suck it. I got Sheriff Spangler, everybody. So Matt Cheers lost the bet. That's really all that matters. Everything else about this episode has zero value except that I won the bet and I beat Matt Cheers. So there. We're almost in agreement. We are sponsored on this episode by Fanatic Brewing. Check them out, fanaticbrewing.com/agreement. Go there, learn more about them as a company, where you can get their stuff. One of the greatest places to get their stuff would be 2727 North Central. That's the tap room, or as they like to call it, the fan base. Go down there, have some beers. Thursday night is open mic night comedy. Friday, Saturday is $5 Black Angus Burger, $5 Black Beef Burgers, and a $3 pint special. And they're open 5 to at least 10 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Most Saturdays they've been opening at noon as well. So anyway, go to that website, fanaticbrewing.com/agreement, and you can see all the hours and information and stuff like that there. We're almost in agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can go to our website, almostagreement.com, and get all the episodes, or go to your favorite podcast provider and get all the episodes there while you're there, or on Facebook or any of that stuff. Give us a like and share, all that good stuff. And Sheriff Spangler, everybody.
Hey, Sheriff, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. Enjoying the weather. I was arguing with your buddy there. I kind of hope for a little bit of rain just to wash some of this pollen off. It's getting a little bit...
getting a little bit too ridiculous.
Getting a little bit thick. All right, well, let me start here. What's your preferred... How do you prefer to be addressed? So as I go through this, I don't call you the wrong thing.
Tom, Sheriff, either one. That's good.
All right. Okay, so Tom, that's weird. I don't know if I'm comfortable saying it, but I'll try. Okay, so big thing for me and what we do on the show mostly is we're trying to figure out how the thing works, like who replies to who and where the authorities lie, and more of a civics class than a politics class, I guess, is what I kind of chase down. And so I got really hot on trying to understand more about where the sheriff sat in this when you guys purchased some of those repair kits for your helicopters, because I was trying to understand what the sheriff's office needs permission to do and where it doesn't and stuff like that. So I don't know if you have a better version of kind of where the sheriff's office sits in the city. Well, obviously not the city, but the county and the state kind of hierarchy of things. That's kind of one of my top curiosities.
Okay. Well, to start off with, obviously, as the sheriff, I'm elected. Unlike a chief of police, they are appointed. Now I have authority, or the sheriff's office has authority inside the city limits as well, because the city lies in the county. So that authority goes right there. Statutorily, there will always be a sheriff as far as the state of Tennessee is concerned. Our duties are to protect the courts, to serve papers, which are warrants, to also keep the peace. Many years ago, it used to be that the sheriff, that's all that they did. They didn't enforce the laws on the roads or anything like that, or answer calls, at least under the definition of the state. And that was changed several years ago. So we're a full service sheriff's office in the state of Tennessee, just like all the other ones are in this state. And it varies from state to state. Now, who I answer to the citizens of Knoxville and Knox County, the voters. Those are the ones that put me in office. Again, I go back and kind of give you a different description of what the responsibilities as the sheriff has and what the chief of police has. The chief of police answers to the city mayor. And so whatever the city mayor says, that's what the chief of police will end up doing or saying or what have you. But my authority lies on what the state gives me by the state constitution and by our charter. We are a charter government. The other thing that's a little different about Knoxville and Shelby County, we are the only two counties in the state of Tennessee that are charter governments, which means that we kind of set, or at least the government, which is a county commission, sets that the rules and regulations, if you will. And we're the only two counties in the state that are term limited. That came about back in 2007.
Okay, so that brings up two quick questions for you. It's like, so
right.
The way the term limits works for the sheriff's office is it's just two consecutive. It could be as many. Is there a total number of terms, or is it just two consecutive and then you have to take a break and then you can do two more consecutive?
Well, and evidently that's the way it's set up. It's not I guess you'd say it's not in writing how you can do it. It just says 2 consecutive terms. So you've had other people that have had their 2 consecutive terms and then run for either a same office and or a different office after being out 4 years, and then they've run again. So evidently, according to the law director, that's allowable.
Okay. And then so the second question that kind of popped up when you were talking there was, so when the county commission puts something into, I guess, mandate would be the term, inside county, you are obligated to that? Or is that something that you have a little bit, since you are directly elected, to kind of, I don't know what the best phrasing is, but is it failure of duty if you don't do something that the county sets forth, or the mayor's office countywide sets forth?
No, they, just like I am, they are elected as well, and they can't tell me how to run the sheriff's office. The only thing the county commission does as far as that is they approve my budget.
Okay.
So that's as far as the authority that they have.
So I guess, like, just for, I'm trying to think of like just a really random example that probably wouldn't happen anyway, but if the county commission and mayor's office, I don't know, decided that, I'm trying to think of something random, that no more than 2 passengers in any car on a county road, that you don't necessarily have to enforce that law that the county commission puts in place, or you do? That's the question.
That would be considered a county ordinance. It would be just kind of like a misdemeanor. It'd have to happen in the presence. And we do have county ordinances that we do enforce. So, but they can't make me do anything with that. That would be a ordinance that's on the books. But yes, it could be enforced by us.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be. That's
correct.
To make sure I understand. Okay. Because these like I said, like it's the civics of what's going on that I'm most curious about. I'll get back with you next year when we start getting really into the politics side of your reelection campaign. I would love to talk to you about that and go through my standard campaigning version of the interview. But we got time. I'm still trying to get all these city races in front of me before I'm worried about next year's 60-something ballot item debacle. Okay, and so for me right now, I think one of the most, broad conversations happening as far as law enforcement goes, at least my interpretation of it, is I feel like there's a relationship problem. We're in a bad relationship between portions of the population and the law enforcement as it stands. I don't really have a particular personal issue on it, but just trying to watch and read and pay attention to the news and stuff like that, with different incidences, which I understand the sheriff's office wasn't part of the Austin East thing, but that was one of those items that's getting talked about a lot as far as where the relationship is broken between law enforcement and the community. And I guess the question in that is, do you feel like that's an accurate assessment, that there's a relationship problem, or do you feel like it's something different?
I feel there's a little bit of a relationship issue just because of that incident right now. We're all feeling it a little bit. So even us, even though we weren't involved in it, I think what happens too, and what you hear is that when one incident happens, then everybody within law enforcement gets blamed for that, or either takes some blunt attack on that issue. So, we've got to, as I have said many times, sometimes the mistakes made by law enforcement, we have to step up and say, hey, what is it that we've done? We've got to make this right. And I'm hoping that, with the George Floyd incident, that officer was charged and convicted, and rightfully so, but it doesn't make all officers that way. All officers are not like Siobhan that did whatever it was he did. What I also say too is that what he did to Mr. Floyd had nothing to do with his training. And we keep hearing about we need to give officers more training. That had nothing to do with his training. That had everything to do with him losing his emotions and everything else. And he let something happen that shouldn't have happened. And that's not your training. When your personal feelings step into something and you can't control it, that has nothing to do with your training. That has everything to do with that individual. And he's being held accountable for it, and it should be.
Right. I agree with you on that for sure. Because I guess to me, I put this example out as I'm the middle-aged, whitest probably dude in Knoxville. But I still am the type that I was driving down the street just a little bit ago and it was KPD officer, but an officer drives by me and I go into high alert mode. Any day that I don't have to talk to a police officer is usually a good one, or at least it's not a bad one. And it's that mentality that even I have that I think that I would love to see a way to. I'd be curious if there's anything that you guys are working on to fix, because I don't like the idea of, because I don't know, your neighbors. You should be neighbors first, and then whatever your job is second. But I have a hard time breaking that myself.
I'm not sure why you have that feeling that when somebody gets behind you, but I'll tell you this: anytime that an officer gets behind me and hits me with blue lights, I get nervous, and it's not nervous just because of I'm in fear. I'm just nervous because what did I do, and it's embarrassing.
Right.
That to me is what it is, and again, we go back to this one, or at least how many. Let me use this as an example. How many airplanes take off and land successfully?
Most of them.
How many crash that you hear about?
A handful, but not many.
There you go. That's right. That's my analogy in law enforcement as well, because you have those bad apples just the same. And those are the ones you hear about, the ones who do things that you can do.
I agree that the media is not assisting the conversation at all by,
no.
I mean, I don't know. I put some of that on us as the constituency as well, because we seem to get more, we click more news stories when it's a bad one.
You're exactly
right. And so I don't know. I guess I don't know the solution either, I guess is what I'm getting at on that one. Cause I think I think both sides have some soul searching to do as far as how to return it to a more amicable relationship instead of taking the worst case scenario and applying it everywhere.
I can go along with that.
All right. I'm trying to think of what else I had in my notes. When I had Kimberly on, she talked a lot about your efforts to bring training closer to the guys, so that they don't have to travel halfway across the state to do training. Because I would still argue that more training is always a good thing. I think you're on the same boat in that, because Kimberly told me about 40 hours once they're out of whatever the term is for basic. Once they're out of academy, they do about 40 hours a year normally. Is that the standard that's set, or is that just a number that we're guessing at?
No, that's the standard that is set by the state of Tennessee, by the Post Commission, which oversees all of law enforcement. But there's also other training opportunities for officers to be able to have, and we encourage that as well. And whenever we have a specific type training that no matter where it's going to be, if it's something that's going to benefit this agency and this community, we're going to send the officers there, or either we're going to bring that entity that is doing the training and bring them here.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know a big part of your budget this year was trying to get some pay increases. There's kind of two conflicting issues that I've been reading about on it. Is that one, and I don't know if it's because of the combination of the two law enforcement offices here in the county, but if I read the stat right, that we have more officers per capita than Nashville and Memphis. Was that a correct stat?
No, it's not.
Okay.
There's no way.
Okay. Per capita, not total?
No, not even per capita.
Okay. And maybe it was a school stat, because I remember I've been trying to keep up with too many things, I suppose. And so I guess one of the things is, is there a metric that you use that's kind of standard across law enforcement as far as how many officers per capita you want to have?
There is, and it's by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and that's what we use. And that's like I told the commissioners when I first came in office. How can I come to you and tell you that we need this many officers, or I need this many officers, whatever it may be, when I can't tell you how many we're supposed to have? And that's never been done within this agency. So I had one of our captains do a 6-month study and getting with the Department of Justice and finding out where we should be. And where we should be is we're at a minimum 40 officers short.
Okay.
Our agency. Now,
and what do we have currently?
Currently, I have, let's put it this way, I have 16 vacant positions that we have. And so you would look at, if you have those full, you're still looking at, as far as the DOJ is concerned, we're still 40 officers short for what we should have per capita.
Okay. But so we're 16 short of what? What's the the current target number, regardless of that extra 40 that the DOJ says you're short?
The current target is another 13 officers that I have vacant as far as patrol officers.
Okay. And so on that, when you're setting patrols, are they set, or do they wander through the county? Like, is it John always works I'm out here at the Easttown area. John always works the East Knox kind of corridor, or is it rotating through? Is there a subdivision that the sheriff's office uses for the county as far as locations? And then do you keep guys there, or do they wander through to different locations throughout town?
It depends on the manpower. Normally they're assigned to a specific area. We have 5 different detachments, and they rotate every 7 days. And, they get to learn their beat. They get to learn their community. And so, they try to keep them in those areas. But when manpower calls for having to move somebody somewhere else, then they may run a different zone one day or something. But, we try to keep them in that same area just so that they learn the people and the area.
Right. I like that. I think going back, I think that's one of those things that can help relationship. So we actually know the people instead of it just being another uniform, for lack of a better word. One of the things as a parent and resident that I think needs corrected is I think we need to have a conversation about the uniforms of the school officers who are not part of your office, trying really hard to look like they're part of your office, because I think that's part of what I know your office had nothing directly to do with this, but when Mayor Kincannon pulled the 15 police officers out of the school system, I think a lot of parents freaked out because they assumed that it's all one body.
They did. I think it's always been a misconception for as long as I can remember of the citizenry, if you will, thought that the school security officers that work for the school system were our people, and they never have been.
I was told that they do some training with you guys and that there's some sort of insurance thing that goes through you guys. But other than that, they work for the school board.
Yeah, some of our instructors do some of their instructing for their academy. We don't insure them. We bond them. They're bonded through my agency. And
okay.
What that means is they're able to make either that arrest and or carry the weapon only on school property, nowhere else.
Okay. Because then, past that, one of your guys has to actually go pick somebody up.
That's correct.
In the school. Okay. Because again, I think that's a weirdism of whether it was intentional to make it seem like it was a more official, authoritative figure as far as the school officers go, or what. I just think it's one of those, as a parent, it can be quite confusing when you're trying to, who am I? Like, if I have a school officer that's doing something I don't think you should do, and I want to raise objection. If I hadn't learned this over the last couple of years, I'd be coming to you and you'd go, they don't work for me. So I got nothing for you.
I've had to do that several times.
Yeah. I think that's a weirdism that we have grown into as the community goes. And so again, I kind of started that and got off on a tangent there, but what is your target pay for a starting officer?
I'd like for us to be at least equivalent to what KPD is, because that's our sister agency, and we're doing, obviously we're doing a little bit more as well. They don't have to serve warrants. They don't have to operate a jail. That's where unfortunately, a lot of my budget goes to is running a corrections facility. But we've got to get a starting we got to get that starting pay right at 40.
Okay.
To be 40, and we're still $1,800 away from there. So.
Gotcha. I got a buddy of mine looking for work. I'll see if I can send you his resume here after the show's over.
Send him my way. We'll be glad to look at him.
But so you bring up the corrections part of it, because again, I think it's is there a reciprocity anywhere in that from the city when they arrest somebody and use your facilities, or is that just part of the gig?
That's just part of it, unfortunately. But, the city got out many years ago. The city got out of the schools. They got out of the jails. They got out of the libraries, and, everything fell upon the county. So, and the city did have their own jail. It obviously wasn't as large as what ours is, but, we house those individuals that are brought from KPD, THP, UTPD. So all those agencies use our jail facilities. So, there's something that we may try to look at to see if there's anything that we can recoup from that.
Right. Because I think I don't know. I would enjoy a job that I get to use somebody else's stuff and not have to pay for it.
It'd be nice.
It would be handy. But, I guess I do because I drive around on these county roads all day and my neighbors pay for that as well as me. But so on the correction side of things, one of the issues I know that I agree with, we need to figure out a solution that's not necessarily within your office, but the mental health crisis and how much you're having to deal with that on top of all the other duties. Is there anything in the works, anything conversationally that's going to help get some of that weight off of your office and put it back onto more of a social services network?
I wish there was. I would gladly today let somebody take over those individuals that are in our facility that have mental health issues and let them deal with it. Understandably, also, you got to realize is that if those individuals have been charged with a serious crime, obviously they're having to deal with that as well. But I would much rather us not be the largest mental health facility in the state right now. And that's where we're at. Whenever Lakeshore went away, that hurt us tremendously. It hurt this community tremendously.
Yeah, and that's one of those zoning messes, which again has nothing to do with you. It's like I think everybody agrees that we need to have one, so nobody knows where to put it.
Well, it's like anything else. It's just like a jail. Nobody wants it in their backyard.
I don't know. Like, I don't mind golfing over there. I've played Three Ridges a few times. It's not the worst thing in the backdrop that I've had to deal with on a golf course, but okay. So then another thing for me is, and again, I understand that the process of this isn't your fault, but how many people, I guess I understand you won't know the real number, but how many people are you housing right now that are awaiting trial?
That are awaiting trial. I would say a good, well, not as many as it used to be just because of the pre-trial program that's going on now. So I would say that number is dramatically lower now than what it was. So I couldn't give you a number right offhand to tell you how many that would be, but I would say our numbers right now would be very low on those that are in there waiting.
Right, low historically from what you're. Yeah. Right, I understand. Because again, to backstory me just a tiny bit, I lean more of the libertarian stint or whatever you want to call it, and some of the state level guys have been working really hard. They pushed through the no knock the no knock raid ban, and one of their other big ones was doing some work on the cash bail system, and how there's plenty of people that are stuck in jail just because they don't have the $500 to get out so they can come back for actual trial date. And so that's one of those to me that I never thought about until I did. And then once I did, I could see some of the errors in the system of that way. All right. So I'm running out of time with you. You're in a hurry. You got a lot of stuff to do, and I really appreciate you taking the time. One of my standard questions I always do on elected people is, what is something that you or your office has been working on that the general media around town is not given the credit or airtime that it deserves?
I'll say a couple of things. One is our DARE program that we implemented back into our schools, getting that back to our children. And also, I would say one of the other things is our SCAN program. That's our Senior Citizens Awareness Network. Those are individuals that are out. Most of them are retired, and they go out to help the elderly, those who are shut in and what have you. And they go out and visit and just take care of things for people. It's not that we're just all law enforcement. We are community oriented here. And I think it's important that the people know that we have people out there that are helping people on a day-to-day basis. And we're also getting more and more people involved in our elderly abuse unit. And when I say elderly abuse, I'm talking not just physically, but mentally, people who are being taken advantage of as far as scams and what have you. So we're doing more education on that. So those things right there, I think, are very important for our public to know that, look, again, as I said, we're not just all law enforcement. We are community driven out here, and we're going to make sure that whatever our community needs are, we're going to continue building to that.
Awesome. All right. So I got a legal question for you that you don't have to answer. But when we actually originally started the podcast, one of our little subset things, we were going to try to record scam calls. and just make fun of them and waste their time, because I feel like, because for me, like I said, I drive around a lot for my day job, and so I'll take the scam calls, and I feel like it's my civic duty to waste as much of their time as possible so that they can't get on to the next person and try to scam them. So in Tennessee, am I allowed to record a conversation without their knowledge?
Yeah, as long as one person knows about it.
Well, that would be me, so that works.
There you go. Excellent.
All right, so for all the listeners out there, look forward to some crank scam calls that we're going to start doing mini episodes on. All right, Sheriff. Well, I really appreciate you. I'm sure I have 10,000 more questions that I'll think of about 5 minutes after
I'm sure
call it a show. But I appreciate your time. We'll have to be back in touch as campaigning starts rolling up or anything else comes up. If you ever need me for anything, feel free to reach out. Any last words before we call it a show?
No, I appreciate it. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Tom. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Seth.
Have a great one.
You too. See you. Bye.
Suck it, Matt. Suck it, Matt. Cheers. I win the bet. I win the bet. Sheriff Spangler, everybody. We did it. Matt told me it was impossible, and so I said bet. So I did it. All right, so we're almost in agreement. This episode is brought to you by Fanatic Brewing. Go to fanaticbrewing.com/agreement and give them some feedback from us. Say, hey, we found you through the podcast. Go over there, check them out. They've got a bunch of cool stuff going on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. The tap room is open. The tap room is called the Fan Base. It is open from 5 o'clock until whenever they kick you out, at least 10 o'clock or so. Most Saturdays they've been open at noon, but that's a hit and miss. I don't know exactly the details on that. But on Thursday night they have open mic night comedy. On Friday they have on Friday and Saturday they have $5 black bean burgers or black Angus burgers and a $3 pint special. So, go down there, get some grub, get some good beers, and we appreciate them for sponsoring. We are almost in agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can go to our website, almostinagreement.com, and get all the episodes, or on your favorite podcast provider. And while you're on your favorite podcast provider, or Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, give us a like, a share, a follow, all those kind of things. Help us spread the word out to the other people in town that need to know more about what's going on in their government. Suck it, Matt. Cheers.